The reality is you're not going to be sitting there praying 24 hours, right? Especially if you're not used to do it here in America. Yes, you can obviously pray extra, right? But you're not going to be praying the whole day. Now, what do we do? A lot of people have the concerns like, what do we do outside of those hours? So there's a lot of things. One, the first thing to remember is you're planning your prayers ahead of time. Because if you wait for the time of adhan to make it to the masjid, you're already late. Even though they pray 15 or 20 minutes after the time of the adhan, you're late. A lot of people go to the masjid 30 minutes before, 45 minutes before, sometimes an hour before, just to be able to be in a good place and being able to pray, let's say in front of the Kaaba or in a really good place in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, inside the masjid. Because obviously there's a lot of outside prayers, spaces that you're able to do, but you want to be inside the masjid. So usually plan your prayers ahead of time. So when you think about the 5 daily prayers, there is at least an hour to an hour and a half taken just for that. Now, while you're waiting for prayers, the time where you're able to read the Quran, you're able to make dua, you're able to pray extra, you're able to just contemplate. Sometimes the brothers will hang out together or the sisters will hang out together and just have a good time, talk, discuss certain things. A lot of times, and this is just specifically for our package. I cannot speak for any other packages, but for our package, for example, I'm usually there, spending time with the brothers before the prayers. We agree to meet in a certain place where we can just hang out. Sometimes we read Quran together. Sometimes we just think about the history of Mecca or Medina. Sometimes we have certain lectures before prayer time. So there's a lot of programs that we plan around prayer times because the brothers are waiting inside the masjid anyway, right? So that's something we want to keep in mind, inshallah. Outside of that, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot of museums around that you can go visit. Obviously, there's a lot of food that you can try. Everything's halal, alhamdulillah. So if you're craving KFC or Burger King that you're not able to have here in America, you can go buy it from there. They have a lot of these places there, and they have a lot of other restaurants as well, different cuisines. There's a little bit of time that you're spending shopping, as I mentioned in the previous video. So that's also something to do. There's also a lot of tours that many of the packages offer, right? There's a tour where you can visit the mountain of Uhud. You see where the battle took place. There's a lot of walking tours that we do. I don't know how many packages do, but for our package, we do a walking tour around Medina, where we basically walk in with a guide and they tell us a lot of landmarks, a lot of the history around. We also do a lot of outside kind of lectures or discussions or talks, so we can go on the roof of the Masjid Nabawi or the roof of the Kaaba, not the actual Kaaba, but the masjid itself. And you have a really nice view, and we're able to spend time together there as well. So there's a lot you can do there. But outside of that, you want to spend a lot of time together, right? With the family or the people that you went with, but you also want to spend time alone, right? Just contemplate, think about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mecca and Medina is one of the best places to contemplate, to make important life decisions, to think about your life, to think about the things you've been doing, to think about the things that you want to do but you haven't had any chance to do. Just really thinking about life, really thinking about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to do a lot of that. And a lot of brothers actually, and sisters as well, take advantage of that to spend time alone, right? So with all of these things, inshallah, you're going to find a lot to do, right? And then you're also going to find yourself 3-4 days into the trip need to crash, because a lot of times the first 2 to 3 days people barely sleep, and then they crash really hard, so they sleep for like 6 to 8 hours in one of those days, and then they're able to continue the rest of the trip. But the average sleep, from what I've experienced for most of the brothers and sisters, is about 3-4 hours a day. And I know this sounds really difficult because you're here in the States and you're like, man, I need at least my 8 hours of sleep. Trust me, you're not going to sleep 8 hours. You're going to spend all this money so you can just go sleep in a fancy hotel room, right? But you're going to find yourself kind of crashing within 3-4 days, which is good to just rest your body before you continue the rest of the trip, inshallah.